weeks pregnant. He was supposed to be born December 25th, 2009. He ended up coming into this world November the 3rd, 2009. I brought a few of his things to show you how small my baby was. Here's a preemie diaper. You know, some probably seen those. And here's a little outfit that he wore. But the thing was, it swallowed him. When Jayden came into this world, he was exactly 5 pounds. Over a few days, he lost, he went down to like 4'2". When he was born, he didn't know how to suck a bottle. He was on a heart monitor. And I'll never forget the morning I woke up. I was having some really, really bad pains. I had to call my mom. She took me to the hospital. And whenever I went into the hospital, I never thought that I was going to have my baby that day. Never thought it. Because I didn't have not one diaper. I didn't have not one outfit. I didn't even have anything for a baby. And I went into the hospital and I went into the room. And it was my boyfriend at the time. He came in. He's my husband now. He said, Leah, he said, are you going to have this baby today? And I said, Jace, I said, I think I'm going to have it. The nurses called Cape Fear, and they sent an ambulance. At the time, I was 32 weeks pregnant. 2 weeks prior to having Jayden, I went to the hospital, and found out my cervix was very, very, very soft. So I was given some medicine. I can't remember what the medicine was. And it brought me up to 2 weeks later, and that's when I had Jayden. When I had him, they had already sent an ambulance from Cape Fear. On the way, by the time the ambulance got to St. Paul's, I had already had Jayden. And the one thing that they were really scared about was they didn't know if his lungs had fully developed. And that was, oh my God. That was one of the things that just really scared me, because I've heard of premature babies coming out with something wrong with them, and I wasn't prepared for the worst. So when I had my baby, he came out screaming. And the nurse looked at me and she said, Leah, she said, we've had women to have, they really at Southeastern, she said they really didn't want to, wasn't prepared for women to have babies at 32 weeks because they didn't have the things there, for the babies. And when I had Jayden, my room was full of doctors and nurses. And she looked at me, she said, Leah, she said, you had to have somebody praying for you. She said, because we've never had a baby to come in this world at 30, at his age, screaming and crying like he was. A couple of days later, 2 days later, when it was time for me to go home, the one thing that really, really broke my heart was he couldn't go home with me. And I had a family member, and she had her baby at the same time as I had Jayden. And she was leaving. She had all her balloons. She had her diaper bag. She had everything and her baby to go home with. And I didn't have that. I had to walk down to where he was in the nursery, and he was hooked up to a breathing machine. He had a heart monitor. He had a tube coming out of his nose. He had some little sunglasses like these right here over his eyes. He couldn't keep a body temperature. And I just broke down and cried, because I could not imagine, never thought whenever I got pregnant that I was going to have a baby that would end up like this. And after a couple days, he would not suck a bottle. And the thing was, what really happened is I really got upset and I got angry with my baby. And that's bad to say. I got angry and upset with him because he would not suck a bottle. He would not latch onto a bottle. And after a few days, the nurse is working with him. And I can really say the women, the ladies in the nursery at Southeastern, they really, really worked with Jayden. They were showing me different techniques, like to rub his neck, to get him to suck a bottle. And after Jayden was in the hospital, he was in there a week. But after a week, he finally started sucking a bottle. And the one thing that really hurt me was when they were feeding him through a tube. After they got finished, they had to pull the tube out of his nose, and he would scream and cry. But that's the only way we could get him to eat. And after that week was up, he got to come back home. He was exactly 5 pounds. He got to come home, and we finally got to have our homecoming, but it wasn't like it should have been. So now Jayden he's 2 years old. He'll be 3 November the 3rd. He is, he's healthy. He's running around playing like any other little boy should. He's taking speech therapy because he hasn't started. He'll say mama and he'll say cup, but he's really not speaking like he should. He's not putting 2 words together. His ears are very sensitive to loud noises. I mean, very sensitive. But other than that, I can say my child has turned out to be perfect. So that's the story of Jayden Quick.